Hello and welcome back. This is Rick Bosley, your host and the owner of the Bosley Team Real Estate Solutions and 3L Coaching LLC. And we're brought to you back here for Lead Generation 36123. If this is your first time listening, I'd encourage you to take a look back at a few videos or a few episodes, wherever you're watching or listening to this, and go back because this is the fifth session of 36 transactions in 12 months with 3 hours of lead generation a day. Today, we're going to be talking about mainly prospecting and how do we go out and prospect towards our clients, to our customer database. We're going to talk about some of the differences between prospecting and marketing, the 3 steps to prospecting so you can start planning your day and executing to the highest level, the different ways in which you can connect with your audience, whether it's your friends, family, sphere of influence, past clients, or complete strangers. We're going to make sure we check your mindset and how you might be able to overcome that limiting mindset belief, figure out your daily routine and the perfect calendar, and now finally, how do we track it, how do we stay on track, and how do we stay accountable? If you like what you heard, stay tuned. Hi, and welcome back again. This is Rick Bosley, the owner of 3L Coaching and the Bosley Team. And if you like this content or things like it, do me a favor, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and even better, I love feedback. Give me some feedback, whether you want to message me, my information's in the description below, or put it right there on the medium in which you're listening. Let us know what you thought about it and some of your takeaways. Let's get into the meat today. I want to share with you a story of an agent named Bill Watson. And Bill Watson's an agent out of Phoenix, Arizona. And since day one, Bill's been wired for leads. In fact, pretty much since the start of his career 30 years ago in 1993, he had the same routine, which is going to be to hit it hard and be a prospecting-based agent. And that was his focus. So let's take a look at what his daily routine was. The perfect day. Now, we know in real estate, it's not always perfect. Sometimes things are hijacked, but this is his perfect day. From 7 to 8 a.m., he's calling expired and canceled listings from the day before. From 8 to 9 o'clock, he's handling administrative work, maybe urgent emails, putting out fires, and any lead follow-up or some pertinent tasks. From 9 to 10, he's calling for sale by owners. From 10 to 12 o'clock, he knocks on doors. Door knocking could be a farm or just listed or circle prospecting, or if you have some buyers looking for a neighborhood, he just gets out there and knocks on doors from 10 to 12 o'clock. From 12 to 1, he does eat and he gets some lunch. From 1 to 2 o'clock, he goes back and calls his expireds and his withdrawn from this morning and any return phone calls he might have had from his morning routine. From 2 to 3 o'clock, he goes door knocking again. And after 3 o'clock, that's when he goes on appointments or calls expireds again for the third time. And this was his perfect schedule. Now, when you share that schedule with a lot of you guys who might be listening, you're going, that doesn't sound perfect. That sounds awful. He was wired for leads. He was wired for prospecting, which, interesting enough, in his first year in a town where he knew nobody, he sold 30 homes. And now he's still doing it, still consistent, and he's closing an average of 8 to 10 homes a month. Now, when you ask, how does he stay motivated? His answer is he simply puts the important stuff in front of him. So he's got a vision board with his kids and his vacation and his family and all the things that he desires to do, because when the why is big enough, the how is easy. I want you to remember that. When the why is big enough, the how is easy. And if we all know we need to go lead generate 3 hours a day, and you just haven't figured out how, then it's probably has something to do with your why that's pushing you to do it is not quite big enough or not in front of you. So we're going to go through that today, and we're going to dive deeper into the prospecting aspect to it. So here's the truth. We hear lead generation. We keep hearing lead generate for 3 hours a day. Yet there's really 2 components to lead generation. On one hand, you've got prospecting. On the other hand, you've got marketing. Well, which more is more important? Trick question. They both are. We're going to dive in today about the prospecting. And prospecting is you out seeking leads. You are hunting. You are spearfishing. Marketing is attracting leads. You're putting out that fishing pole, that net, the bear trap, right? So are you a hunter or a gatherer? To eat and survive, you probably need to do both. And you need the hunters and the gatherers in the village. And as a real estate agent, you are both a hunter and a gatherer. And for prospecting, we are hunting, you are seeking the leads. I'm going to share with you one of my favorite visuals. It's from a book called 7 Levels of Communication with the author Michael Meyer. He talks about the communication pyramid, and he labels it with 7 core components and way in which you can communicate with a customer. And the bottom of the triangle he talks about is the information zone. And this is what I would call marketing. It includes advertising, direct mail, email, and I'm going to include with that mass text. That is marketing. That is sending information. And if the right people are looking for information, it could attract the right buyer, the right seller, the right customer for you. So marketing is important. And then right in the middle, you have handwritten notes. And that's kind of this beautiful combination of marketing and prospecting. And the reason why it's not quite prospecting is it is passive, right? It's not seeking, it's sending it out. But it's more than just mass marketing, it's still personalized. So you have handwritten notes right in the middle. And then the top of the pyramid, which is more impactful, is the influential zone. And the influential zone is where we're going to have phone calls, and I'm going to include there personalized text or personalized direct mail. Now keep in mind, people can do transactions just via text, especially in the day and age of whom a lot of the first-time home buyers are, who our clients are. They prefer not to talk to the phone. So read the room, know your audience, yet don't hide behind the phone and only do text, because your conversion will be higher with verbal communication versus written communication. But we're going to say influential zone is phone calls, personalized text, events, seminars, group sessions, and ultimately the one-on-one. That's what we're going for. So today, for prospecting, we're going to talk about the influential zone, which is phone calls and outgoing texts, group events, and now one-on-ones. Let's take a look into it. So ultimately, everything we do is about building or converting our database, isn't it? And even within the database, it's within our sphere of influence. Now, it's a common question of how do I know who's in my sphere? Who's included with my sphere of influence? If we strip everything away of trying to overcomplicate it, and we truly just think this is our sphere, it's a bubble around us, and who's in my bubble with whom I have influence over as a realtor or insurance broker or home inspector or whatever your trade is, do they know you at that craft? Do they know you at that profession? Do you have influence? Now, here's a hard truth I'm going to share with some of you guys right now. If you give phone calls to people and you give text to people and you give messages to people and you never hear anything, you don't have much influence over them. If I've got a friend and they call me and I'm in a meeting, I'm at least going to give them that auto text reply that says, busy, can I call you later? At least there's a response there. So I want you to have a reality check of your database, because if you're constantly just going after it and leaving voicemail after voicemail after voicemail, it's not necessarily influential. We can get there, we can earn it, but we're not there yet. And I want you to be aware of where you are as you're making these calls so we can appropriately project what we're going to get us. So everything is about building or converting our database. We're going to talk about within our sphere of influence. And then once you're in my sphere of influence or my database or however you want to call it, then what are you going to do to stay there? I shared at last week's episode that there's 80,000 real estate transactions a year shared by 20,000 realtors. So if everything was distributed evenly, there would be 4 transactions per year per person. We know that's not the truth. We're doing a course right now on how to sell 36 transactions, 9 times more than the average. So in fact, when you do 36 transactions, it means 8 other agents will be doing 0 to keep it proportionate. So we know you have to go out and get your unfair share, and in fact, 9x of your unfair share. And the question is, are you doing 9x of the activities? Are you out working? Are you out strategizing them? Are you out investing them 9 times? Here's the good news. You don't have to do it 9 times. You could probably do it 1 to 2 to 3 times, because their bar is already set so low, and you're going to get those compound dividend returns on that. But I want you to think about that. Prospecting and marketing is about growing and converting your database. Now, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, which I'm often referencing, they actually say it's a marketing-based prospecting enhanced. Here's what that looks like. I'm going to send you a newsletter, and that is a marketing piece. Then I'm going to call you and talk to you about that newsletter and the components for it and ask if there's anything I can do to help you around that. That's prospecting enhanced. Marketing-based prospecting enhanced. If you're up against the wall, if you're down in your sales, if a shift comes or a recession comes and you've got to figure out how to do it, just flip that and be prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Now we're going out and seeking it, and once we seek it, we follow up with some marketing material. So if you're not where you need to be, or if the recession's coming, or you want to shift proof your business, you're going to focus on being prospecting based, marketing enhanced, because the emphasis is going to be on the prospecting, because we go back to that triangle. And in the triangle, that's the influential zone that has the greater impact. Prospecting reinforces the marketing. Marketing supports the prospecting. So here's the two when we look at them both, right? Prospecting, the cost is minimal. The time is high. Marketing, the cost, that could be astronomical, but the time is minimal. Think about this. If we wanted to put a billboard up, that's mass marketing, right? It's billboard sitting there right in the busy highway. It's going to cost a lot of money, but I'm going to do it once, and then I'm getting impression after impression after impression, and it's done. Even videos or content like this is marketing. This takes time to create, to rehearse, to edit, to publish. Once it's out there, though, it's done, right? And hopefully someone's listening to this, and it's years after this thing's been published, because it is that marketing that's going to go. But we think about it, the time it takes, and I think a lot of agents or business owners or leaders, they hide behind marketing, and they think a Facebook post or a flyer will do it, and they just sit and wait. And here's the reality, it's not. And I've got a true testament to this. We've got a great database and a lot of just raving fans who like us and respect us and ask us for help. So we thought it'd be a great event to throw a pumpkin patch. And we threw a pumpkin patch for our customers, and we had a s'mores, we had a campfire, we had arts and crafts, really cool family event, right? And for 2 months in a row, in August and September, on the bottom of our digital newsletter and our physical newsletter, we had save the date, QR code, pumpkin patch, come on. In the week leading up to the pumpkin patch, we looked and we had 2 RSVPs. Now, I hear it out loud, and I'm sitting here touting myself as a strong coach. I'm going, well, my marketing wasn't very strong. It was just one-dimensional, and it wasn't enhanced by prospecting yet. And then we took prospecting, and the team and I, we said, let's go identify our top 50 clients. And we made calls to our top 50 clients. It took us about 2 hours to go through them, personalized phone calls and texts and messages. And then we had a great event with over 50 people there. So when you think about it, the marketing was there. And here's the crazy thing. When I would call these folks and say, hey, did you get the save the date? Did you see the bottom of the newsletter? They recognize the newsletter, but the message got lost in the shuffle, because in this day and age, man, we are overloaded with information, right? Every second, I can look at my inbox right now and messages are coming in. And if you're like me, you can't unsubscribe fast enough to some of the stuff, and we don't know how it goes. And once upon a time, I clicked on something and then it hits us. And I'm going to encourage you guys to give useful and needed information. Make it more personalized. Build the relationship. Focus on cementing that relationship. And the way you're going to do that is by influential conversations, text, messages, handwritten notes, face-to-face meetings. So I want you to think about, in your recent week or maybe your month, how much time or how much money are you spending on either one? Are you currently a prospecting-based agent or a marketing-based agent? Are you nice and balanced? And by the way, you'll notice I'm asking you to be balanced. One supports the other. If you only prospect and never market, it's tough prospecting, right? It's one supports the other, right? We said prospecting is enhanced by the marketing. So I want you to think about it, the last week or so you've done of who are you? What kind of agent are you? And what kind of agent do you need to be? Maybe like Bill Watson. And Bill Watson, who puts in 5 to 7 hours a day of prospecting. Is that you? Maybe if you're short on your goals, it could be. Because if you don't have clients, then what else are you doing? If we go back to the cavemen, we referenced it to hunting and gathering. If your family hasn't eaten a meal in 2 or 3 days, then what else are you doing besides hunting for your next meal? And if you haven't had a closing or a contract or an appointment in 2 or 3 days or weeks or months for some of you, I got to ask, what else are you doing besides hunting for your next meal or seeking or attracting your next customer or your client? Because frankly, if you don't have any clients, you're not in real estate, or you're not in insurance, or you're not in loan officer, you're unemployed in a profession because you don't actually have any customers. So I want that to sit a little bit with you, that you either are servicing your clients or looking for your clients, and that's your job, and that's what we're looking forward to do here. So here's the puzzle piece. I want to go over 3 myths and then debunk those with some truths around prospecting. One myth: prospecting equals cold calling, that equals rejection, and I don't like rejection. Right? That's one way to look at it, but here's the truth. Prospecting is about meeting people, building relationships, those business relationships that turn into strong real estate business relationships that cultivate for a win-win. You see, if you're prospecting only for a transaction, then there is a yes or no, which is a rejection or success. If you're prospecting to build a relationship, then you can cultivate that over time. So change your mindset around prospecting. Don't make it about a win or a loss. Make it about growing, strengthening, and enhancing that relationship with multiple people. Myth number 2, prospecting means contacting people you don't know. Well, the truth is it means contacting people you know as well as who you don't know. And you only do it with people you don't know. If the people you know, you run out. You see, real estate's a contact sport. Almost everything we do, if you're listening to right now and you're in the sales or self-employed, it is a contact sport. And without having real estate conversations or insurance conversations, you're not going to have the clients. And if your sphere of influence is large enough and you only can talk to people that you know and it fulfills your goals, hey, congratulations, you're good to go. And if it doesn't, then are you willing to go talk to people you don't know? Prospecting doesn't have to be cold. It can be very warm. And when it's warm, it's easier. Yet if you go months without talking to your warm lead, that warm lead, like some old leftovers, becomes cold again. So we've got to maintain that consistent heat. Myth number 3, prospecting is what you do to launch your business, and only new agents have to prospect. Gosh, this is written up here as a myth, but I sure hope it's not. And I think any successful agent who you see will realize that it's not. Granted, I do know a lot of agents who have been doing this for decades, and they go, yep, my past clients, they call me and I don't have to work for it anymore. Yet I can also look at their business and it's probably hit a plateau. And if it hits a plateau, much like a mountain, it's going to hit a plateau and eventually it's going to start declining. And I've got to ask you, what kind of agent do you want to be? One that has a plateau and starts declining and maybe gives you a challenge in the latter years, or one that continues to grow, that can scale, that can leverage, that then you can choose who you want to work with and build and scale a team outside of who you don't. So make prospecting part of your daily habit. As long as you're still working as a realtor, it's part of that daily habit. It's what you do to keep your real estate business running and growing. Frankly, never stop. If we're in a relationship-based business, why would you ever stop building and cultivating and maintaining and strengthening your relationships? So here's some statistics that I want you to hear and think about around prospecting. 22% of sellers surveyed already have an agent, and 12% of buyers surveyed, they already have one, meaning when they were before they were in the market to buy or sell, 22% of sellers already knew who they were going to work with, 12% of buyers. Which means there's a wide open opportunity even if you're brand new to market. Now, how people chose an agent, I've got some stats I'm going to read off for you. 4% of both buyers and sellers used the agent who reached out to them. So just by reaching out to them, you have 4%. That's just shy of 1 in 20, right? Maybe 1 in 25 is what that equates to. So 1 in 25 people who you reach out to are going to use you according to National Association of Realtors. 40% of buyers, 38, so we'll call it 40, 40% of buyers and sellers use a personal referral by a friend, relative, or neighbor. Think about that. 40% are using a personal referral. Now, we've seen this number drop a lot. We've seen this number drop a lot because information is so readily available. It used to be that you would ask your friend's opinion, or you'd be at work, you'd be talking about it and say, you know what, I need someone. But now this day and age with Yelp and Nextdoor and Facebook and LinkedIn, you can put just a post out there and get flooded. You want to have some fun? Go to your local neighborhood group or your local neighborhood area and just say, I'm looking for a realtor, and watch it get flooded. And it is overwhelmed. So a lot of times, by the time the referral kicks in, they've already been contacted by somebody else because they're putting out some feelers. Yet this is recent enough that says 40% are still using the one through personal referral. And then finally, using the same agent, we mentioned this before, 12% for buyers, 22% for sellers. If I were to think about that 10% variance, it makes sense because before the sellers become sellers, they bought that house in the same city, in the same area. Buyers are often to a new area, therefore they don't know someone. There's that 10% variance. So here we go. From that, we learned just reach out and contact them, and more importantly, contact friends, family, neighbors, relatives, and ask them who do they know, because that is your greatest conversion, is through personal referrals. Now, before you choose what you're doing, you want to think about your METs, or what I'd say is your connected, your haven't METs, which is your target and the general population, past customers. We're going to think about this because I'd encourage you to work with people who already know, like, and trust you from your previous life or world or industry or circle or network, because, again, you already have a pre-established relationship. Now, they might not know you as a realtor or loan officer or title rep, yet they know you as a human being. They know your work ethic and everything else. And if you recall from the last episode, we talked about your unique personal selling validity, your USP or your UVP. And we said, what do buyers and sellers look for? Honest, trustworthy reputation. Now, I don't care what industry you're from or how they know you. If you're a personal friend or a neighbor, they know if you're honest and trustworthy. Reputation then can come over time. So we think about this. Don't avoid contacting your close friends, family, and network for a fear that you're going to let them down, because they already like you, know you, and trust you, and let's cultivate that. Here's some prospecting things I want to share with you. It's inexpensive and it yields immediate results. You can prospect today and get an appointment today and get a signed agreement today. It puts you in control because you are out there seeking and you are not waiting. I think about fishing, and I enjoy fishing. I'm not very good at it. I'm good at fishing. I'm not great at catching. Yeah, when we think about this, when I've gone spear fishing, I'm down there and I can actually see the fish with the spear in my hand and shoot them. That's when I'm in control. I can see what's down there, and I'm going to pull the trigger when I see someone in sight. So it puts you in immediate control. It gets your confidence and skills going because you see it works and you're having conversations and you're seeing progress. You're getting better with your conversations and being able to add value. It leads quantity into quality. We've got to have the quantity and the quality. A good friend of mine used to say, it's like seashells on the beach. And 1 out of 100 seashells will have a big commission check below, but you don't know which one. There's 100 seashells. How many will you turn over to find that $1,000 commission check, right? Or $10,000 commission check? How many will you turn over? Most of you are probably saying all of them. Yet, when we think about what your conversion rate is for prospecting marketing, you're not having enough conversation. So go with the quantity, and if you do it for 3 hours a day, you're going to have the quantity. The other thing is it keeps you in direct contact with the market. It protects you against the market shifts. We hear the recession is coming and the market is shifting, and how does that impact you? And I'm listening to Gary Keller's Think Like a CEO podcast again today, and he says if you just do the right things, your business is actually recession-proof. Because the market's going to go down, is there still enough transactions happening in your local market for you to hit your goal? And if your goal is 36 transactions and it goes from 80,000 to 70,000, I'm pretty sure you can still hit your goal. So there's 3 steps to prospecting: the approach, the actual connection, and then how do we ask for the referral or ask for the close. So the approach is, let's have that right mindset. Let's be proactive. Let's go after them. Let's be willing to break the ice and have that conversation. The cool thing with social media now is you've got a window into what's relevant to break the ice. Be friendly, be caring, be real. Guys, the trust triangle, and we heard this from Jason Abrams as a guest speaker in our region a couple months back. This is the trust triangle is authenticity, empathy, and honesty, right? And so go through that. If they've got to trust you, be empathetic, be authentic. Know what you're saying is real. Be friendly, be caring, be curious. What do they need? What are their plans? What are their goals? I'll tell you, one of the biggest questions I get as a coach is, how am I supposed to find out what their address is? And here's the answer. You're in real estate. It's your job to know about their home and about their residence and about their plans. And just tell them, hey, before I hang up, I'd be regret if I didn't ask you, what's your address? I should know where you live. I'm your realtor. I'd like to be your realtor. And just ask for it. Don't make it so complicated. Just go ask for it. That way you can truly be an advocate for what's important to them. Give them positive feedback. Give them direct feedback. There's a balance between care and candor. And when the trust is high enough, you can have what we'll call carefrontation conversations if the trust is high enough. Now, if you go to a complete stranger, maybe not. You've got to build that relationship. Be confident. Be confident in your pace, in your posture, in your approach, and tonality. And just go for the connection and go for that relationship. Always come from contribution. Always come from a place of giving, not taking. There's an emotional deposit and emotional withdrawal. If we think about this like a bank or a cup of water, if all I ever do is take withdrawals and withdrawals and withdrawals, eventually I'm going to overdraft that bank account. We've got to make sure we're making more deposits than we are withdrawals. And deposits are things that are useful and needed to them. Now, how do you know what's useful and needed for them? You ask them. You get the data, you get the insights, ask them what their goals are, you have that great follow-up with it. Stay curious. If you need a way to get data or insights or a structure, there's a couple acronyms, FORD, FROG, you can use either one. FORD, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Frog, family, recreation, occupation, goals. There we go. So how's the family? How's the job? How's the work? What are you doing this summer? There they are. They're all there, right? Now be careful with this because we are looking for efficiency. So the example we give is I hear from some people, oh, my database, they have 30 and 40-minute conversations with me and I can't get through them all day. They're probably not having 40-minute conversations with you. They're hanging up and going, oh my gosh, my realtor calls me and she just talks and talks and talks for 30 to 40 minutes. Because if it's happening over and over again, you are the common denominator. So let's ask them about their goals and their dreams. Read the room though, and unless they are just pouring their heart out for you, let's get on and make sure you can entertain their goals or their curiosity about their real estate transactions. Ask for the appointment, ask for the referral. The point of the conversation is to identify and nurture or a pipeline. The point of the pipeline is to identify and book the appointment. The point of the appointment is to sign or obtain a client. The point of obtaining a client is to get under contract. The point of getting under contract is to close. And if you're in that stage of having a conversation and you're not asking for an appointment, is it really a real estate conversation? If you're not asking for a referral, if you're not asking for a pipeline, so be prepared to ask for what you want and ask for the order. And if they say no, then ask permission to follow up and invite them to the next event that you have going on. Make sure you get their contact information. We're looking for 4 points of contact. The 4 points of contact we're looking for is their name, phone number, email, and mailing address. That allows you to do all of your prospecting, all of your marketing, because we can call them, email them, send them handwritten notes, direct mail, real estate comps, and everything we need for it. So 4 points of contact, that's going to be your strong contact. If you have more than that, like birthdays, anniversaries, where they work, even better. But at least aim for those 4. Now, if we go back to the 3 ways to connect from the 7 levels pyramid, we're going to talk about phone calls or personalized text, group events, or one-on-ones. The message and the method, when we think about this, if the message is hometown heroes, right? Anyone in the medical or education system can get a very nice mortgage rate, and you can get some low down payment and very affordable housing, hometown heroes, right? That's the message. Now, what's the method? You can do a social media post, you can do an email, you can do a direct mail, you can do a handwritten note around it, you can have a phone call around it, a hometown hero buyer's workshop, and one-on-one meetings with people who are hometown heroes to have that. I share that because sometimes we're curious of what do we say to these people, and you don't need a whole lot of messages. Pick a message and go after it. You have a new listing. That's the message. What's the method? Go through those 7 spots in that pyramid. Are you advertising it, emailing it, direct mailing it, handwriting in the note, making phone calls to your pipeline or to the neighbors or circle prospecting, having group meetings, call that an open house, and one-on-one appointments around that. So think about the message, think about the method, use that triangle, and make sure you're hitting all of it. Importantly enough, that high impact, which is going to be the prospecting. When our team lead generates, we're asking them to come in for their 3 hours, and here's what works for us. You come in, and when you start, first thing you're doing is calling your new leads. New leads that came in the last 24 hours. Hopefully we've already gotten to them, but if not, we're going to call our new leads. And if you spend all 3 hours calling new leads, what a great problem to have, right? Once your new leads are taken care of, you're going to call your follow-up. These are going to be your tasks. Now, your tasks are from campaigns or smart plans that come in, or maybe it's your manual task because you called someone 2 days ago and they said, I'm busy, call me on Thursday, and here we are on Thursday. So your manual tasks or your automated campaign tasks are next. So new leads, follow-up tasks. Then we go to what we call our DTD2, doing the database 2. And this is how we're making sure that everyone in our sphere of influence is communicated with in a systematic way. It's one of the laws of lead generation. Communicate systematically, which one means no more than a quarter is going to go by before a conversation is going to be had with someone in our bubble or in our sphere of influence. And finally, if we're gone through all 3 of those stages and we haven't gone through our 3 hours yet, then we're going to go out there and seek new leads through a farm or target area. So that's what works for us. You've got to figure out a schedule that works for you so you become systematic in your conversation. All right, now all of this sounds great in theory. All of it sounds great in principle. And all of it sounds great if you want to be like Bill Watson and just go for 7 hours. And it kind of reminds me of the old YouTube video of "Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box." If you haven't watched that, it's a good motivational speech. And just go ahead and YouTube somewhere, "Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box." You'll thank me later. And all that sounds great in theory, but frankly, if we have a limiting mindset or belief or thought process around it, then that's going to become the Achilles heel. So I want to share with you adopting a positive mindset around prospecting and connecting and building relationships. We have to get comfortable establishing that contact. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it expands, and as you expand your comfort zone gets larger and larger and larger and larger until what used to be difficult is now easy. And every day you should be living outside of your comfort zone, because frankly, inside your comfort zone, if we go back to the caveman and all you do is hunt for area in your little woods there, and you're not eating, then you've got to leave the woods, go to different territory. So let's leave that comfort zone. Let's adopt a mindset of possibility. When we talk to agents, a lot of their mindset is thinking about worst case scenario. We're thinking about, what if I call someone and they don't like it, or they yell at me, or they unsubscribe, or I'm not adding enough value? And that's worst case scenario, and it terrifies them. But I'm going to ask you, what if it's tremendous value and the timing could have never been perfect because they were just saying they need a real estate transaction or a need or service or referral or connection, and man, right place, right time. So instead of thinking about worst case scenario, think about best case scenario. Think about the possibilities. And if we go back to the statistic of 20,000 realtors here in Orlando, at least in 2023, that means there's 19,999 others that they could choose other than you. Probably they're going to buy or sell with somebody. The question is, who's it going to be? And who would you like to represent them more than you? If you already know, like, trust, and care for them, aren't you doing a disservice if you don't go out and get in front of it and make them go out and seek someone? And bold, we learn about a bold, listing presentation is in a weak moment, you might find yourself with a weak agent. And I just want to make sure that you never find yourself vulnerable in hiring a weak agent. So let's get together and talk about that so that you already have the information you need to be equipped to make the best decision. So a little script we hear about is weak moment, weak agent. Don't let that opportunity miss you by. Don't let your fear stop you from being proactive and prospecting and helping people solve a problem that they currently know they have or they didn't even know they had yet, and you help solve that problem. It's about a mindset, checking the mindset, thinking about possibilities. And when you hear or see a negative mindset creeping in, just inverse it. Write some affirmations. Affirmations are powerful, and your body will listen to your thoughts. I am adding value every day to my clients and they want to hear from me. That's an I am statement. That's an affirmation. And if you say it long enough, your subconscious will start to believe it. So that takes us to our final leg here of your daily routine. And the daily routine is going to be making sure that your schedule matches your goals. Sometimes we hear from agents that their goals are way over here and they're great aspirations and they've got a plan for it and it's beautiful. Yet when you look at their schedule, it just doesn't match up. It's like a foreign film, right? The words and the bodies don't match up. The deeds aren't matching the actions. Your audio and visual out of sync. I don't need any more puns or examples for it. You guys get the idea. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then it's not going to happen. A bold law is if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't exist. Another bold law that I love around time blocking is all work expands to fill the time allowed. So it kind of reminds me, if you go and you just say 3 hours of lead generation a day, do you know specifically what that's going to be? Are you prospecting-based, marketing enhanced? And if so, is it 2 hours of prospecting, 1 hour of marketing? Is that the work? And if we do 2 hours of prospecting, what can you actually yield? Well, our data shows that our agents are making between 5 and 7 conversations per hour. Now, if you can be more efficient than that, fantastic. If you're less, then let's at least get up to average, right? So let's use the number 6 conversations an hour, and I give you 2 hours a day. Well, that's 12 conversations a day, 5 days a week is 60 conversations a week, 240 conversations a month. Is that enough? Our data also shows that about 1 in 12 of those conversations lead to a pipeline. So if we have 240 conversations, couldn't that lead us to 20 nurtures? Or 20 pipeline of people that say they want to do real estate? Is that enough? Data also shows us that 1 in 24 conversations lead to an appointment. So if we have 240 conversations, that gives us 10 appointments. Is that enough? I guess it depends on the type of appointments they are and your ability to close those appointments. But the point is, that's what data shows us from agents as a whole. What does your data say about you? And if you don't know it, find a way to start tracking it. If you're in our coaching program, you can go to reportmynumbers.com and you can input it, and it's just a Google form and it sends a sheet and you can track it. If you're not a part of the coaching program and you'd like to be, message out to me and you can give you access to that. If you let me know, hey, I listen to your podcast or watch your YouTube, message me. We'll make sure you get access to that as well. So reportmynumbers.com is the URL. Now we can track it. Now we know it's enough. And now you know, what are you exactly doing in your 3 hours of lead generation? You're going to allow for growth, allow for progression, progress over perfection. If you've never done it and you're going to start tomorrow, give yourself some grace and celebrate the progress. Celebrate how you're going to move towards it. Atomic Habits I reference a lot with James Clear, and he says we can't stack upon a habit which we don't already have. If you already wake up late, don't lead generate, don't market, don't do anything, and you're all of a sudden going to decide to cold turkey it, more power to you. But the reality is it's probably going to be some baby steps. So what's first? And what's probably first is starting. Because it's a heck of a lot easier to continue once you've started than to finish it if you never even start. So let's focus on progress over perfection and get started. And I'm going to encourage you, get started today. Or worst case, tomorrow. Don't put off what could be done. Just make a decision and go after it. Let's track it. Let's be held accountable. Accountability is ownership. I can't hold you accountable as your coach, your peer partner, your spouse, your kids. They can't hold you accountable. It's a personal decision, and you're going to own to do it or not. And I've got to ask you, do you own your goals, or are they just words? Are you really committed to achieving what you state or what you declare, what you put on paper? Or is it just really a cool wishful thinking, but you're not willing or wanting to put in the work? Tough words for some of you guys to hear, but I want you to think about that. Measure it, hold yourself accountable. Now, coaches and spouses and friends, they can hold you able to be accountable. We can remind you, we can keep you on the straight path, but ultimately, the decision is yours. So do you have a coach? Do you have a peer partnership? Do you go to masterminds? Do you go to trainings? Are you in an environment with other people whose efforts and goals match yours? As we put together this chapter, I want to thank you for listening for this whole thing. Prospecting is the core of everything we do. So it makes sense that this episode was a little bit longer than the other episodes. Yet I trust you found value and can implement this immediately, because what we've talked about before was understanding the power of one thing. We talked about the 80-20 principle and the powerful aspects. We talked about who you are as an individual and your unique selling value propositions. And now we're talking about prospecting of your habit to go out there and have conversations to build a relationship, because we're in a contact sport and it is about relationships. The next session we're going to talk about is marketing, and it's going to be the beautiful complements to our prospecting here. So I trust you're going to be able to like, subscribe, comment, ring that bell. Every Thursday we're going to drop a new episode here, so stay tuned. Next time we're going to talk about marketing, and then very specific to the sources of business, from FSBOs to open houses to working with our connected in our sphere of influence, farming, and it's going to be some great stuff. Thanks again for listening, guys. My name's Rick Bosley with 3L Coaching and the Bosley Team Real Estate Solutions at Keller Williams, here to make real estate simple.